Everyone is talking about negative gearing, and I understand why. It's a headline, it's an emotional trigger. But if I'm being honest, I think we're missing the real story here. I'm Oliver Cheung. I'm a founder of Insighto. We help investors acquire and manufacture equity in residential property. And the 2026 federal budget just wrote the entire playbook for everyone watching this. The negative reform is not the story. What negative gearing actually was and what happens now that is gone. That's the story. In the next 12 minutes, I'm going to show you 4 things. Number 1, why negative gearing was never actually a wealth tool and what the real loss is. Number 2, the maths on a real Melbourne deal, pre-budget versus post-budget, so you can see exactly what changes. Number 3, the 3 things every headline this week is getting wrong, including the trap that's about to catch a lot of first-time investors entering the market. And number 4, if you've got 700K of borrowing capacity sitting right here, right now, I tell you how to make this work. By the end of this video, you'll have a complete framework for the post-reform era, and you'll know whether to pause, proceed, or completely restructure how you invest. Let me start with a part of this budget that no one is framing correctly. Negative gearing was never really a wealth creation tool. Let me be direct about that. Nobody simply got rich from a tax deduction. What negative gearing actually did for most mum and dad investors was something far more practical. It was cash flow buffer. It was a thing that helped people survive the first 3 years of holding a property while rents caught up, while debt got reduced, and while incomes improved. But also while renovations created the uplift in the property, while long-term capital growth compounded over time. The new question now, so when you take that buffer away, and the question for every property investor in this country is no longer, will this property grow? The question now needs to shift, can I survive holding this property long enough for my strategy to actually play out? This fundamentally is a different question, and it changes everything. How you select property, how you structure debt, how you model cash flow, how much margin for error can you allow for. And simply, most investors haven't just caught up to that yet. They will in the next 30, 60 days when the bill starts landing. Let me make this solid because abstract scares people. Specificity is what informs and gives a confidence to move forward. I'm going to walk you through a property that looks very similar to the deals we assess every week. 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car house in Melbourne's outer west. Purchase price, $660, 400 square meter block, built around 2013. Rents for about $470 a week. This is $24,440 a year. An investor on a PAYG income of $150,000, marginal rate of 30% plus Medicare, loan of 80% LVR, 6.5 interest only. So roughly about $528,000 borrowed. Pre-budget numbers. So you pre-budget under the rules that just got rewritten. Your interest is $34,000-ish a year. You add council rates, insurance, property management, water maintenance, a total holding cost of just under $45,000. Your net rental loss about $18,000 a year. Under the old rules, that loss offsets with $150 salary at a 39% effective rate, including Medicare. That's roughly of a tax return of about $7,000, add depreciation of around $4,000 a year on a 2013 build, and the real out-of-pocket drops to about $9,400, $180 a week. Tight, but survivable. That's a buffer we just talked about. Now, same property, same investor, same numbers, bought after budget night. That $18,000 loss can no longer be offset against salary. It's quarantined to residential property income only. If this investor's only property, there's nothing to offset against. The loss carries forward to a future year when the property turns positive. There's no tax return, there's no buffer. Depreciation still helps in future years, but it doesn't help with the cash flow of today. Out of pocket is $18,000 a year. That brings it to about $350 a week. Every single week. The gap is $165 a week, about $8,000 a year. Over a 5-year hold, that's exactly $45,000 in extra cash the investor has to fund from personal savings or wages. For a household on 150K gross, that is not trivial. It's a family holiday, it's school fees, it's a buffer between managing and struggling. And that's just one property. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Same property, same suburb, same market, but the investor doesn't buy it at retail and hold passively. They acquire it in a condition most buyers are walking past. Tiled kitchen, original bathroom, average presentation. They buy it for $610, low sixes, instead of $660 because the condition softens that competition. They then invest about $40K in a targeted renovation. Kitchen, bathroom, new flooring, fresh paint, inside out, front landscaping. Not a luxury Instagram-worthy Pinterest renovation. The strategic repositioning designed to shift the property from that tired 1980s kitchen to an investor-grade owner-occupier appeal. Post-renovation valuation comes about $740K. That is $65,000 in manufactured equity above their total cost base. The post-renovation rent $530 a week from $450. The yield improves, the cash flow gap narrows. And critically, the exit buyer is now an owner-occupier, a family, an upgrader, someone who buys a lifestyle, simply not on negative gearing, which means that the future buyer of that property is completely unaffected by reforms. That is the difference between a passive investing and a manufactured equity one. One model just became significantly harder. The other just became significantly more valuable when you're spotting the right asset in the same suburb. Okay, on to 3 things the headlines got wrong this week. Number 1, the media is framing this as a housing affordability reform. Now, I understand the political narrative, but let me say this clearly. This reform reduces investor demand. It does not create a single new home. It does not speed up a single planning approval. It does not reduce construction costs. It does not solve the labor shortage. It does not unlock land. It does not fund enabling infrastructure clearly. The structural problem has always been housing supply, not just supply in farmland. The right supply in the right locations where people actually want to live. Well-located housing near jobs, school, transport, amenity. That is what is scarce. And let me tell you, the budget does not materially change that equation, besides giving free Australian standard to tradies and builders. The second thing that the headline got wrong is the rental market. A lot of commentary right now says rents are going to spike up dramatically. I understand the logic. Investors retreat, supply tightens, rent jumps. The true reality is more measured. Rents will rise, but the rise will be gradual, not sudden. And let me tell you why. Most tenants are locked in a 12-month lease. Landlords can't change rents mid-lease. You can only increase your flow through the renewal. Under the tenancy legislation, your rent increases have to be justified by comparable evidence in the local market. If market rents haven't moved substantially yet, then landlords don't have the evidence to push significant increases through. The local renter pool has an affordability ceiling. Push past what tenants in that area can actually pay. You get vacancy, not higher income. And there's landlords who care about preserving your cash flow. You know that an empty property is worse than marginally lower rent. You compromise, you recalibrate. Your rental growth follows a staircase, not a cliff face of sudden increase. Number 3, this is one that I am the most concerned about. What is going to happen now is every house and land package agent, every depreciation-led sales machine, every property marketer for new builds is going to be in your inbox this week. And let me tell you, it's already happened. And they're going to tell you a simple answer. Just buy a new build. New build gets negative gearing. New builds still work in this investing landscape. Many investors, particularly the young, the fresh time investors and mums and dads, are going to feel pushed straight into exactly the type of the asset that require the most caution. Why? Poor construction quality, inflated pricing, but simply oversupply corridors, weak resale, hidden marketing commissions buried inside the contract, chosen simply because the numbers work on paper. One poor property decision can set a young family back years. This is a story that the headlines are not telling, and it is a one that I want every viewer of this video to be alert of. So what does all of this actually mean practically? The old model is finished. The model that said, buy something, hold it, hope the market grows, use your tax benefits to absorb the pain, that model just became structurally weak. What replaces it demands more from the investor, more precision in what you buy, more intelligence in how you improve it, more discipline in how you structure your purchases, and simply more rigor in suburb selection, and a complete shift from waiting for value to creating value on your own terms. It means identifying properties with a renovation upside, poor layouts that can simply be redesigned for a fraction of a full renovation cost, cosmetic inefficiency that can be corrected, assets that can be repositioned from a single home to duplexes, from investor grade to owner-occupier appeal homes, because your future buyer pool has just changed. If your exit depends on selling to another investor who is now structurally disadvantaged by the same tax settings, your liquidity is a lot weaker. Your buyer pool is a lot weaker. But if your asset appeals to an owner-occupier, a family, an upgrader, someone who buys on emotion and lifestyle, your exit is completely unaffected by this budget. And this is your key play. If your strategy depends on a subsidy to survive, you do not have a strategy, because that strategy has been cut as a lifeline. You have a dependency, and dependencies can be taken away overnight. And this is exactly what just happened. So the verdict: should investors pause? Should you move on? I'm not going to hedge on this one. This is not the moment for sophisticated investors to pause, or even first-time investors. It's a moment for them to completely change the logic, the narrative behind investing. The investors should pause are passive investors, the ones banking on broad market momentum, not speculative growth, on the buy anything and wait strategy. That model has been dying slowly for years. This budget just put that final nail in it. For strategic investors, this environment may actually create one of the best buying windows we've seen. With 700K directive. So if someone called me tomorrow with a 700K of borrowing capacity that's been adjusted with the negative gearing impacts and lending policies, here is exactly what I would tell them. Step 1, don't make any decision based on panic or headline emotion. This budget was announced days ago. The legislation hasn't been drafted. The implementation date is 1st of July 2027. You have time. Use it intelligently, not reactively. Step number 2, speak to your accountant over the next couple of weeks. Get your holding structure reviewed. If you hold existing properties, understand that you're fully grandfathered. Know exactly where you stand before you deploy capital or before you sell out. Number 3, recalibrate what you're buying and why. Under these reforms, you need assets that perform because of the quality of the acquisition, not price. The scarcity of location, the strength of your own occupier demand, and your ability to create value, whether it's renovation, whether it's a floor plan play, whether it's changing the asset class. Not because the tax system carries the asset for you. With 700K of borrowing capacity, I would focus on one of the 2 pathways. Pathway number 1, acquire an established property below market value in a tight held owner-occupied dominant suburb with a clear renovation upside. Properties with tight presentation, cosmetic inefficiency, underutilized floor plans. Manufacture 40 to 100K in equity for a strategic renovation within the 90 days of settlement. You get the equity upplay, you get the yield up play. Path number 2, strategically target a land opportunity where you can develop, demolish, or build a duplex or dual occupancy, but only where the fundamentals stack up, not blindly buying new builds for that tax incentive. Whatever pathway you take, apply this filter before you commit capital. 6 questions. Every one needs to be a yes. Can I manufacture 40 to 60K in equity within the next 90, 120 days for a targeted renovation? Number 2, does this property appeal to owner-occupiers, not just investors? Number 3, is this suburb supply constrained, less than 2 months of inventory? Number 4, can I achieve a gross yield above 3.5% or above 4% post-renovation, if not more? Number 5, is the land to value ratio above 60% so the growth is driven by the appreciating asset and not the depreciating structure? And number 6, am I buying below a comparable evidence so I have a margin of safety from day one? 6 yeses, 1 move, even 2 no's, don't buy that property. It's not the market that's wrong, it's the asset. This budget does not kill investing, it kills lazy investing. And that is probably the biggest shift of all. I've always operated on one principle. You don't wait and hope for growth. You create and accelerate equity through strategy, design intelligence, value add, and simple targeted execution. This has always been my investing philosophy, and this budget just made it the only viable philosophy for new investors in this country. If you want help to apply this to your property portfolio, the link to book a strategy session is below. And of course, I'll see you on the next one.